I want to introduce Michael Shea. Now, these are preachers coming up, and they have 5 minutes or less. Not
Our family's glad to be here. 2 of our kids aren't here, but we're happy to have Lorene and David with us. We have lots of memories. We came here right after Kent State happened, when I remembered that. And a lot of our college kids came home really devastated, so we had an ecumenical meeting over at St. Mary's, and that was the start. Our youngest son was adopted while we were here, and Emily Cassidy was very instrumental in helping us do that. So that was a great time for that. We had floats and parades. Perhaps one of the things our whole family remembers was an Easter sunrise service at Overlook, in which every tree going up that hill was covered with snow and ice. And it was a really deeply moving experience to have that. And for me, personally, to share with Tommy Thompson, who obviously was here 42 years, that was another great privilege. I almost didn't come here. My candidating Sunday, we had a snowstorm, and the thruway, I was living over by Albany. There was a snowstorm, and we couldn't get on the thruway, and we tried to get through Amsterdam. We finally got to the Herkimer Hotel. They had given away our hotel room because the thruway was closed, and so we were in the manager's room, and people kept knocking on our door for this or that. And I think it was in the morning, someone from the church came up and said, "Do you still want to have the service?" I said, "Well, man, after all the trouble we got, yeah, we'll have it." But it was probably the smallest candidating service in the history of this presbytery, but we were there. And unbeknown to me, before I came, the week before I came, I was playing basketball with some kids from my former parish, and I didn't realize it, but I had torn my Achilles tendon. And so we packed up and we came here, and I went over to good old Dr. Burke. Now, if you remember Dr. Burke, he was a wonderful doctor, but he never kept office hours, never kept appointments. So I went over on a Friday afternoon, and I waited 2.5 hours, and I said, heck with this. I went home, shoveled snow on Sunday, and it really tore the Achilles tendon badly. So I went back to Dr. Burke, and you might, if you knew him, you knew he had a few kind words for me. He didn't respect clergy more than anything else. And so I ended up the first 6 weeks here in a cast up to my hip. Wonderful way to get sympathy and appreciation. Just go on crutches for a time. So we had that, and it was wonderful. We had, as John alluded to, the experience, Paul Wing and some others were taking pictures of the steeple, which was really a beautiful thing. And it was tipping out in the middle. And some people said, the only way you're going to fix this is take it out stone by stone, label all the stones, and put them back together. So that didn't seem feasible, and then we saw the wall over here was also sagging, and so very painfully we tore down the building. And it was the 1970s when a lot of us were committed to not having so much money in the buildings, and so we rented space. First at the Catholic Church on Fern Street, and then down at the Universalist Church. But renting space doesn't work any better for churches than it does if you have your own apartment. So we built this building, and I thought, really, I was impressed with the way the church hung in there at that time. They really stuck there and moved around, and indeed, I thought we grew. And one of the interesting things was when we came into this building, as John said, the old building sat 700 people. The congregation when I came was never over 300, and we had about 80 in worship at that time. We came into this building and people said, "How come we sing so much better?" Same group of people, just a different room. And also because the old building was kind of cold and we had windows and everything, and we went from being a very cold church to being a warm church. So I'm convinced that architecture plays a great part in the life of the church. We had some controversy in the town at that time. The school issues were right there in a very difficult time. And some people thought maybe the pastor of the Presbyterian Church was a little too involved and getting some pressure. So I went to see Austin Chase. I don't know how many of you remember Austin Chase, who was president of the bank, and also Paul Wing. And I told him the situation and that we were getting, even in the newspaper, some pressure. And both Paul and Austin said to me, "Do what you feel you have to do, and we'll support you." And I thought that was a tremendous statement for community leaders and people of this church to do. So it was a very moving experience for me. And when I came in 1970, some people said to me, "Well, you don't have to worry at all about finances here. A couple of old people are going to die and leave you a bundle." Well, they did, 20 years after I left. But I've been very pleased and proud, and I've told lots of people what a wonderful thing you have done with the Becker Fund. I've gotten some help for my first Mexican tour that Marilyn and I did, mission group, and of course Randall Shea, who's our wonderful friend, has benefited greatly from the program. So that's really a very, very wonderful thing that you have done. So you should be very proud of that. That Becker Fund is, I think, a tremendous thing. All of our churches, I'm going back to preach a stewardship sermon in church tomorrow. All the churches are struggling these days, but you have had a great commission to be in the mission of our Lord and Savior, so that's very good. I think my greatest impression of this church would be that it was a congregation that was really committed and really hung in there. I mean, this was a difficult period of time. The President of the United States resigned, we tore down the building, we had all kinds of issues, and yet the congregation was very vibrant and actually grew to a certain extent in that place. And Keith's sister, Arlene, was one of the leaders at that time, so I just can't say enough to the people there, how they supported our family. We had a couple of illnesses at that time, and just a really, really strong group of people. So I'm glad to come back and share with you lots of memories, and I appreciate being here. It's a great congregation in the past, present, and future. So thank you.